بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. أسأل الله تبارك وتعالى أن يجعل نياتنا خالصة لوجهه الكريم. I praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I thank Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. I ask Allah to raise the status of Sayyiduna Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his family, his companions, and all those who follow them in excellence until the day of judgment. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the sincere intentions. So Thursday, I was talking about some of the issues that were of great concern to us as a community. But I often think about us and I think of balance, right? Or they call it al-insaf, fairness. And I think sometimes in our pursuit to establish the truth, which is important, we lose fairness. And that is not a good thing. As Muslims, we have to always try to find the middle way because there are extremes. And extremism, no matter which direction it goes, is dangerous. Some levels of extremism are more dangerous than others, but anywhere you go in extremism is dangerous. And experience is oftentimes one of the best teachers, if not the best teacher. Experience is among the best teachers, if not the best teacher. And it is always wise to learn from others' experience so you don't have to experience those things yourself. Sometimes it's better for us to listen, right? It will help. So I want to give you two extremes religiously that we face because everybody doesn't deal with the same things. Like every area or every group of Muslims are not confronted with the same situations. So there are some areas I've been in, there are no such thing as Wahhabi or Salafis. They don't deal with it. That's not their problem. They may have to worry about their job and their careers and their professions and their children's education, but there are where they live, the environments they move in, there is no Wahhabi, no Salafi. It doesn't exist. Everyone is Sufi, And that's what they do. That's it. They're busy building, and they're like their own suburban community, and that's what they do. So their concern is not a concern that we're confronted with in the inner city. In the inner city, predominantly, we're confronted with those ideas, right? We're confronted with those ideas. So we have to address them because that's what we're confronted with. That's what we deal with. There's some areas where people deal with Shia. We don't deal with Shia. There are no Shia here, so there's no need to talk about Shia. We don't have them, right? There's no real presence of the NOI, for instance, nation. Those who call themselves the Nation of Islam, they don't exist. I mean, a handful of no relevance. In some places, that is what people think is Islam, right? When we were in Kansas, as Brother Abdurrahim mentioned, there was no Salafi problem. Their problem is racism, dealing with the immigrant population who doesn't accept blacks. Different issues, right? So I say that to say what? Be concerned with what is important to you in your context, right? What do you need to be a good Muslim? What do you need to stay on the straight path? Besides a certain portion of the religious knowledge, which we call obligatory knowledge, everyone needs to know that, no matter where you're at, no matter what your condition. But how that's taught is going to be different depending on where you're at. So if I go to the community in Kansas, it's a waste of time talking about certain issues. Basically, all you have to teach them is certain attributes of Allah, what is not befitting of Allah, and then go on, teach them ibadat, teach them and spirituality, and move on. That's it. You don't need to waste your time talking about individuals. This scholar, they ain't interested in all that. They just want to be good Muslims, right? It doesn't apply to them. So if you spend your time talking to them about that, you're wasting their time. It's irrelevant in relation to them. Now, to others, that may be extremely important. So you go to Philadelphia, that's what they're confronted with. So maybe you might need to talk about those issues. Or if you were in Newark or somewhere else. So it's knowing your context and knowing your place. And I say that because we all come together on this platform, but all of us have different realities. We don't have the same reality. And we should consider that. So someone wants to come and wants to talk about their idea of what Islam is, but it's their idea and their concept from their teachers or whatever that really has nothing to do with what we're doing. We have to learn to ignore that stuff, starting with me. Not that you are discounting people, but it's not relevant to what we're trying to do. Right now, what we need to do, and we discussed it, we need to get our basics together. And when I say the basics, we need to first know our religion. And we need to know each other because we have to cooperate with with one another to make a better environment for all of us. And we can't waste our time in things that are not beneficial for us, right? And sometimes you have to learn to let people where they're at, leave them for the time being. Like, you can't change everyone. Just leave them where they are. Tell them and keep it moving, right? You're not a guardian or warden over anyone. Hey, I told you. I tried to explain in a nice way. Keep it moving. So this is just my scattered thoughts, because I was thinking about what I said the other day. And we have a lot of things we could be doing. We need to learn. Not learn to debate, just to learn, period, to practice, right? I know people who spend all their time debating about the proper belief, and they don't even know the proper belief themselves. That sounds crazy, right? I said, I know people who spend all their time debating about the proper belief, and they don't know the proper belief themselves. Let me ask you a question. How do you think that's possible? They spent all their time debating about the proper belief, and they don't know the proper belief. How could that occur? I thought about that. It's amazing. That's all they do is debate about the proper belief, but they don't know the proper belief. I want you to answer me. How do you think that occurred? That's a question. Naeem, are you coming to the Wild Wild West with me today? Hajj time is surrounded by reading books on their own. No, they didn't even read books. Right? They didn't read books. You know why? I'll tell you how it occurred. Yeah, don't be late. I need extra security from Pittsburgh. Bring your boys. Or just bring Samira. She's enough security for everybody. Oh yeah, bring Khadijah too. Right. There you go. Good. Abu Rayyan. They just debate about the things they parroted from their teachers, but they actually never learned the science of Aqidah. They just learned a few points about Aqidah, and they made that Aqidah. But they never really learned Aqidah. They didn't learn Usul al-Din. They didn't learn Ilm al-Aqidah. They just learned some points about Aqidah that were points of difference. So they learned Allah exists without a place. They learned that Allah don't have hands or feet. They learned a few issues, and that's it. They didn't learn the science of Aqidah. They learned how to argue about certain points in Aqidah. There's a big difference. How would I know that? Because if you ask them about the science of Aqidah, they know nothing about it. They don't know the scholars, they don't know the books, they don't know the issues, they don't know the cases. They only know certain things because they were taught and trained to argue, not to learn the religion. There's a difference. A big difference. And because they were taught to argue on both extremes, on the extremes of arguing wrong in the wrong way, and on the extreme of arguing about the right stuff. But what they both learned was how to argue, not even debate, argue. There's a difference. I didn't say debate, I said argue. Because I watched some people debate, right? I remember this. I never forget this. I'm going to share the story with you. It wasn't funny because misguidance is not funny. Let's say it was amazing. I came across two individuals debating. They were arguing. They called it debating. One was saying Allah is everywhere, wal iyadu billah. That was his position. And the other was saying Allah is above the heavens. That was his position. And they were debating about that issue. Now, both of them, of course, were completely wrong because Allah is not everywhere, nor is Allah above a throne. Allah exists without a place, which we know. So they're going back and forth where they could have been spending their time actually researching the issue, right? So they would have both learned by researching in their discussion instead of trying to prove each other wrong. They would have both discovered that they were mistaken. Right. So for us, I think we need to spend more time learning than preparing ourselves for argumentation or so-called debate. That doesn't mean when it's necessary to discuss an issue, we don't discuss it. But discuss the issue with the purpose of learning, right? Not trying to prove you're right. And I'm talking about for all of us, me included. Because even if you're right and you're not trying to educate someone, they're not going to get it anyway. Even if you're correct. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us to call to Allah with wisdom and good preaching, good exhortation. And even if we have to argue with someone, do it in the ways that are best. And we should try to find out what that looks like in every context. And it looks like what Imam Shafi'i said, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. I never debated with a person because they debated, except that I wanted the truth to come from him. I wanted the truth to come off his tongue. And in another narration, he said, I never debated a ignorant person in one. And I never debated a knowledgeable person in loss. Right? That's deep. Because the knowledgeable person wants to learn, so you're never going to lose. Right? The knowledgeable person is not looking to win the argument. He's looking to learn. Whether he wins the debate or not doesn't matter to him. I want to learn the truth. I just want to learn the truth. Whether it comes from you or me, it doesn't make a difference. And if it comes from you, that's better for my nafs, for my ego. I just want to learn the truth. That's it. And we hope to learn the truth so that that knowledge can turn to practice, so that we can implement it. Right? So when I say to you, because some of you didn't like me saying it, Imam Amin is nobody. I'm talking to myself. I'm saying it loud to you to remind you, but more, I'm reminding myself. Why? Because if you start thinking you're somebody, you're going to forget the whole point of education. It's going to be about you. And I learned that from Sheikh Samir. He don't have an ego. It's not, he don't care about like what you think about him. For all the years I spent in his company, I still ain't got that point yet. I'm working on it. I'm trying, but I guess it comes with age. I don't know. Young people want to be somebody. Usually elders get to realize it ain't about me, it's about the people coming after me. They're more concerned about others than themselves. They live their life. The young person still wants to be famous. Not every single young person, but I think that state comes with age, where you realize it ain't really about me. Age and experience. You may start off in certain stages of your life. At a young age, you know, you are relying on others. You don't want your parents to take care of you. Then you get to a certain age where you want your independence. You want to do your own thing. And then you reach a point where you start worrying about the future and future generations, right? The state of your children, right? And that's how we got to be, right? Especially as a community. We got to start thinking, we have to start thinking about the future, next generation, what they're going to be like. What's the next generation of Muslims going to be like? Do we want them to be sitting around arguing and debating, or should they be educating, right? And I got experience from that, right? We spend, I remember my teacher said to me, one of my teachers who people don't realize is my teacher. I don't know why. That's what laughs about me sometimes. One of my teachers taught others, and those others forget that that person was my teacher. But he said something to me one time, and I never forget it. He was talking about him and his colleagues. He said, we spent 30 years with a great scholar. And when that scholar died, we realized we wasted 30 years because none of us are like him. I will never forget that statement. He said, we spent 30 years, and he was talking about him and his colleagues, with a great scholar, and we wasted the time with him arguing and debating, doing all that stuff that didn't concern us. And none of us are nowhere near like him. I want you to be 30 years. It's not us. They with a top scholar. And not one of them has reached even close to his rank. What does that tell you what they were doing? Well, I know what they were doing, spending their time arguing and debating, right? Wasting their time. I agree, Fahad, but I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about us. I ain't talking about nobody else. I agree with you 100%. I'm not talking about put yourself down to others. Put yourself down to you, right? There's a difference, right? Don't put yourself down to others. Put yourself down to you. There's a big difference. You follow what I mean? And let me ask you a question, just so we can ponder on it, right? And this is not a challenge, it's just a question, right? What is a scholar? American or otherwise, what is a scholar? Because we use the term scholar. What's a scholar? What do you mean? Forget scholar. What's a sheikh? What do we mean by these terms? Terms have meanings. I'm going to explain something to you. Let me give it away from scholars so I can understand. So you follow what I mean, right? I told you I had a friend who was in the NBA, right? We were business partners. He played for Sacramento Kings, Denver Nuggets, Dallas Mavericks, and another team, I forget. But at that time, he was playing for the Dallas Mavericks. So we were together, and we was like, come on, let's play some ball. I told y'all the story before, but I never forget it. I said, come on, let's go play some ball, Hawk. He was like, I don't play with bums. Right? Oh, my goodness. You know that hurt, right? He said, I don't play with bums. I was joking, bench warmer calling me a bum. Right? And that's what was on my mind. I'm like, you bench warmer, what are you talking about, some bum? Right? And but do you realize I understood what he was saying? Because even a bench warmer in the NBA is a superstar in his neighborhood. That bench warmer in college and in high school was an all-star. So maybe he's a bench warmer in the NBA because there are superstars in the NBA. That doesn't mean he's not real good. But if you put him with Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or Shaquille or Magic or Larry Bird, okay, he might look like a bum to them, right? So there's levels. My point. So when we say scholarship, that's relative to who we're talking to. What is a scholar? And who are we defining as a scholar? And in what are they a scholar in? Right? The general practitioner is not like the heart surgeon or the brain specialist. They're not the same. So every doctor doesn't mean the same thing. There are levels. When I put it in that context, where are the scholars? In the East or the West? And what are we talking about? Right? So I'm just saying we should have context. You know, I had this argument. It was an argument, but a discussion argument with a big American scholar. According to himself, he thought he was a scholar. I totally disagree with him, but we had the argument about this. And he qualified himself as a scholar because he got a PhD. I said, really? That makes you a scholar? A scholar in what? You got a PhD. In what? Islamic law? In what? What you studied? What you covered? What did you master? From whom did you take? Oh, you think everything got to be by your chain of narration. Do you know what university studies are like? That's not something you wave your pom-poms with, you know. I mean, somebody who don't know no better, you might could do that. But that doesn't mean you don't know anything. But scholar, come on, bro, stop. What books you studied? What did you cover in your studies? That's what I thought. Nothing. So how you a scholar? That doesn't mean you ain't learned something. But scholar, come on, man, stop. You could take that PhD and put it in the garbage can if you're talking about scholarship. Come on, stop. Knock it off. Now you defending something that you know that you didn't study well. You know that. But you pushing it like scholar. That's ego stuff. You could say, I learned this, and I'm smart in this. How did you transfer that to scholar? But because what the person thinks that you actually mastered Islamic law, and that's not true. And you know that's not true, right? It's not like I'm telling you something you don't know. That's ego. You know daggone well you ain't mastered not one madhab, let alone 4. But you say I got a PhD in Islamic law, which means nothing. You got a bunch of comparative studies. You didn't learn anything. And when I mean anything, excuse me. I don't mean nothing at all. I mean what you're claiming by those letters are not real. And you know it. And anyone who studies Islamic sciences knows it. That doesn't mean you don't know something. That doesn't mean you're a good researcher. That doesn't mean any of that. You may be a good researcher. You may can help out. But what you know compared to what the perception is false. That doesn't put you down. It's just real. So for you to say, I'm qualified to do ijtihad, like I'm like Abu Hanifa and Malik and Shafi and Ahmed, or anyone in the ranks of ijtihad in any madhab, is false. And you know it, and I know it. And anyone who studied Islamic sciences traditionally knows that. It's false. It's not true. That doesn't mean you're not beneficial. That doesn't mean that you know more than the guy on the playground. That doesn't mean you didn't study some stuff. But that doesn't lead to your claim. It's a big difference. Now you understand when I say I'm nobody? That doesn't mean I don't know anything. But it's no need to make claims, if you follow my point. There's no need to make claims. No more than the guy who graduates from school and still need training. He's not experienced. You get out of college, even after graduate school, you still need experience. You don't know. You got theory, and sometimes you don't even know that well. But you got your certificate, you got your diploma. But really, how skilled are you in the field? Very few come out actually skilled in the field, let alone to be talking about scholarship. It's a whole nother story. So that's an extreme. But let me go. But listen, I'm saying just to put us in context. That's it. Because that one with a PhD, if staying in his own rank, could do a lot of good. Drop the ego and just work with what you have, very beneficial. Do you understand what I'm saying? Very beneficial. But if you, instead of just using your skill set to benefit, you want your skill set to make you somebody you're not, then we lose. That's with any of us, right? There are certain weaknesses that I have. I know my weaknesses, right? Then there are certain strengths I have that people who don't have my weaknesses, they likewise don't have my strengths. You see my point? So where I'm weak at, they're strong. Where they're weak, I'm strong. If we come together and we work together to benefit, then together we can get the job done. You follow my point? But if I'm trying to make myself like I'm the man and you're trying to make yourself the man, we're never going to make the man. We're just going to be making a bunch of claims because we're never going to fill in those gaps that we as a collective need. We need those things together to actually do what we both set claiming to do. It's just something to think about. And you know, these are scattered thoughts, so I'm all over the place. But that's what scattered thoughts is. Just talking what is on my heart. Now, let me ask one quick question. Someone asked a question. I'm going to go back to it. Where was that at? There was a question. Oh, I'm I'm putting you up just so. Well, I won't put it up. I'll just read the question because I can see it. It said, please address the two extremes: those students that read on their own while studying with a teacher, and those who attend classes but don't read anything. Why does that seem like a loaded question, Abu Rayyan? I got to put it up just so you can answer me. Be honest. Be honest. Just between us. We family. Is that a loaded question? Does it have context behind it that's stated but not stated? I'll just be honest. Just us. Like let's keep it real. No? Okay. Where are you from? If you don't mind sharing. It's just something in my mind, and I could be wrong. And I don't mean it to me. I mean just in general. I'm just wondering. We gotta become family so we can have real talk, right? Like I'm serious. We like family. That's how we should be. I don't want to be fake. No big eyes, no little U's. Let's just be family. From Philadelphia. Okay, I'll answer the question. Oh man, y'all are funny. So it does have context. It's Philadelphia context. All right. I'm gonna stop there. I think we got the indications of clear expression. All right, let's answer it. Bismillah. No, trust me. I would like to meet all y'all one day so y'all can see we cool peoples, man. Let's just be peoples. It works better. Uh, So let's address the extremes. You got students that read on their own while studying with a teacher. That's one class. Then you have students who attend classes with teachers, but they read nothing on their own. That's another class. So I should go give you an extreme, because the first thing you mentioned is balance, is the middle ground. So the extreme should be a student that just reads on their own without a teacher. That's one extreme. The student who reads on their own without a teacher. That's an extreme. The other extreme is the one who just sits with the teacher and don't read anything. That's an extreme. The real student that you want to be is the one who sits with the teacher, learns from the teacher, and read on their own while reviewing and checking with the teacher. That's the student you want. That's how all of us should be. So you should be listening, for instance, to us, right? As well as researching on your own, right? And then joining between the two. That's a real student. That's a student who will eventually become scholarly. The one who sits with their teacher, learns from the teacher, benefits, at the same time researches, right? I'll give you an example. Personally, Sheikh Walid is my teacher. You know that, right? Sheikh Walid al-Rifai taught me. Not my only teacher, but if I would be honest, of all the teachers I had teachers way more knowledgeable than Sheikh Walid al-Rifai, way more knowledgeable. But I don't think I've benefited from any teacher more than I benefited from him, if I be honest. If I laid out my teachers, those who I learned from, Sheikh Walid wouldn't be 10% of most of them. In knowledge, I'm talking about. But I benefited from him more than I ever benefited from any of them. A big difference. So there doesn't have to be a great scholar for you to benefit from. The lessons I learned from Sheikh Walid Rifai when he was a young boy set me to do what I'm doing today. Not other teachers, him, specifically him. But in the same process, while I was learning with him and reading and studying with him, I was researching and studying, and I had experience before I met him, but to the point, right? To now, we're colleagues. He was my teacher. Now we're colleagues. And he has things that I don't have, skill sets, and I have skill sets he don't have. So I rely on him sometimes, and he relies on me sometimes. It's the way it works, right? So that's doing both, studying, and that's just an example. And let me go to my Sheikh Samir. I remember I used to sit with him and just sit with him and narrate and narrate and narrate and narrate, right? I don't even remember how many books I studied with Sheikh Samir. I don't remember in a different, I got to sit down and write and write and write. And I still fall short because Sheikh Samir is a reader a lot. He teach. And if you get to be in his company, you're going to do a lot of stuff, right? And I remember we finished one book. I forget the book. And after the book, the habit was Sheikh would read the book with us, right? Go over, and then he would give us ijazah in the book, but he would read the book. That's different from the general ijaza. So maybe one day I'll talk about that because people are not aware. There's the general ijaza that the teacher, he feels trustworthy with you and he give you to relate from his route for the blessing. That's one type of ijaza, right? Then there's another type where, and Sheikh Samir is famous for this, that he won't give you unless you actually heard from him. So you have to actually sit with him and go over the book, or he won't give you ijaza. He doesn't like general ijazas. Not saying he never does it, but he doesn't like it. If he gives ijaza, he wants you to have actually heard, at minimum, heard what he said, and better for him is that you understood what he said. And the way he does that, he separates the different types of ijazas he gives. Some of them is general. He doesn't even care about that. It's for the blessing. But when he's given a real ijaza, he writes your name down. So he knows who has a real ijaza from him and in what. He writes it down, right? And this is his way, right? I got other teachers who are great scholars. They ain't giving you ijaza no matter what you do. If you're not scholarly, they're not giving you ijaza. Forget about it, even if you understand. Doesn't matter. They're not going to give you an ijaza. Forget it. I got teachers like that. Like, I'm not giving you an ijaza. Did you hear? Did you understand? Okay, good. You don't need any ijaza. When you're ijaza, you need to be scholarly. That's for scholars. That was his. That's how they are, right? So Sheikh said, so after we read this book, and he noticed that was my habit. I'm younger, so I want to get everything from the Sheikh. So I'm rereading book after book after book after book after book. Everywhere we go, we book. And he said, I don't want from you a bunch of narration. I want understanding and expertise. And after that, I never asked him really for another ijaza in nothing. And we read so many books after that. And he would get to the point that he'd be like, don't you want me to write you ijaza? I was like, nah, that's all right. That's what he said. After he said that to me, right? That was it. That was it. I wouldn't ask for ijaza anymore. For nothing. And I remember we were doing was Sahih Bukhari. And I got sick during some of the reading. And I had read it before with him before, but when he was doing it, I got sick. So I missed a good portion of his narration. When he was giving out the ijaza, I didn't come to get ijaza. And he was looking for me. No, I was looking for ijaza. I don't have ijaza here. I was going to show you something, how it works. Isa, I wasn't looking for a moth. And he was looking for me. But I didn't come to the session where he was giving ijaza. I didn't come. Like when he finished the book, I was there, and then I left. So later on, he wrote an ijaza for me. But he noticed I wasn't looking for it. And he said, I have an ijaza for you. I said, I missed class. He said, but you understood. You understand. Right? And it taught me a lesson. And I've never, since that time, I've never asked him for an ijazah and nothing. And we've read so many things since then, right? Because I actually realized what it was really about. The ijazah became claims. I relate from so-and-so, I relate from so-and-so, claims, 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 claims. Yeah. Now what? What are you actually doing with all that? Are you benefiting people? Are you teaching people their religion? Or are you just uh, collecting a bunch of narrations to say how much you narrate? Or are you actually learning and benefiting people? I don't know, Akil, don't keep track. Anything I teach, I've studied, right? Either verbatim or in meaning. I don't teach things that I didn't learn. So whatever I teach, I actually learn from a teacher, either in meaning or exact word. What do I mean? So I may teach a book that the contents of that book I learned. Maybe not the specific book itself, but what is in the book, the information I actually learned from a teacher, right? Which is the way. So then there are some books that I actually learn word from word, which are the majority of the books from my teachers, word for word. So whenever I teach, that's the method. I don't teach without learning. So whatever I'm talking about, I actually learned it. And the teachers will verify, yes, he learned from me that. That doesn't mean I'm nobody, because I don't believe I'm nobody, but I'm just saying that's the way it's not nothing to do with me. That's just the way I learned. I learned the same way I was telling you, the middle way. I sat with teachers and I read on my own. And when I have confusion, I go back to my teachers. And I stay in contact with my teachers all the time, right? And some of my students who were originally my students have become teachers for me because we taught them the same way and they're better than me. So I don't have that's why I never worry about saying I don't know, because I have a bunch of people around me who know. So if I don't know, that's fine. He knows, or he knows, or he knows, or we'll call this one who knows. It's okay. It's not a big deal. It's not about me. If I don't know, I don't know. Just like I don't know, the one who's asking me don't know. That's why they're asking. We all don't know. So we got to learn. If you follow what I'm saying, is this clear post-Fajr reflection? I mean, excuse me, scattered thoughts. Is it clear? Did we benefit from something? I got to get ready to go. One second. All right. One second. Clear. Any questions quickly before I go? Let's relax. Really, we waste a lot of time competing with each other. Seriously, man. Killing ourselves. We got to stop that stuff. Right? We've turned Islam into a competition. It's not. We should be competing to help one another, not bring each other down. If we're going to compete, compete to help one another. Don't compete to destroy one another. If you follow what I mean, no one has time for that. We're getting old. We're getting too old to be wasting our time competing with one another in a negative way. Compete in all that is good, right? And if you have something beneficial to offer it, share it. And don't look to just bring each other down. Doesn't help us. As a community, as an ummah, it doesn't help. And I think we've learned Islam too much. The way we learn it teaches us to destroy one another. And we shouldn't do that. It doesn't work for us. It hasn't worked for us. You know, my wife always says, how is that working out for you? How is that working out for you? It's not. So let's make an appropriate change, inshallah. Okay, inshallah. Let's make dua for our brother Mu'ti. He's sick. May Allah cure him, make him well as others who I may not know. I know that he's sick, so he's our brother and we love him. So let's ask Allah to give him afiyah, to make him well. Bisira Surah Al-Fatiha. Barakallahu bikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. See you in post-Fajr reflections.